The following broadcast is for entertainment purposes. The views and opinions expressed are solely that of the broadcaster and do not reflect those of any particular governing body in volleyball. Independently verify all rules if any conflict should arise.
Hey everybody, welcome to From the Stand. I am Ref Mike. Welcome to From the Stand. Today's episode is Common Rules Misconceptions. So it's the job of every referee to facilitate match play in every sport and at every level. And it's crucial that every referee has in their tool belt an extensive knowledge of the rules and understanding of those rules in their chosen discipline, whether it's soccer or football, baseball, softball. And does that mean we always get it right? No, we don't always get it right. But that's what I believe good refereeing is all about. So a good referee is always learning. And every referee needs to be a student of the game, whether it's volleyball or football or baseball or basketball. Now, if you sat down and you watched the game of highlight, you probably wouldn't find much enjoyment in it, right? I mean, like, what the heck is highlight, right? Who plays highlight? Is that an American thing? Like, yeah, believe it or not, people in America play highlight. It's a sport where you throw a ball around from a wicker basket at 1,000 miles an hour. Other than the fast-paced action and the high speed at which the ball is thrown, you probably wouldn't enjoy it very much. Why? Because you don't know the rules. Well, misconception or misunderstanding can cause confusion in players and coaches and spectators, and this leads to less excitement or less understanding of the game. And this is an effort to correct that. The more one understands the game, the more one can enjoy it. And enforcing all of the rules is the standard. I'm going to say that again. Enforcing all of the rules is the standard for a referee. Not choosing which rules to enforce or the degree in which to enforce them. Now, I'll be the first one to say this is one of those moments where we pull back the curtain a little bit. Will be the first one to say, or in this, that's the purpose of this webcast thingy here, is to kind of lay it all out there. Now, a referee should know all the rules. A referee should enforce all the rules. Do referees know all the rules all of the time and enforce them all the time? No, they don't. But by and large, I will go out on a limb here and say that the vast majority of those rules that are not enforced are the ones that don't really have anything do directly with gameplay itself. Like, for instance, where the coach has to stand, or some of the things that spectators can say or can't say. But today is all about common rules misconceptions. So the format that this episode is gonna run down is I took the rules book, and this disclaimer here is that, like I said, a couple of reminders. These opinions are my own, my interpretations of the rules book. Some are cut and dry, some are not so much, some leave some room for interpretation. And that's what we're up on the stand for, and that's what we're on the floor for. We take that rule book, we integrate it, we espouse it, and we interpret it and facilitate games. Now, I went down through every single rule in the USAV rulebook. And this particular episode is going to be geared directly towards only USAV. We are getting ready to move into the UIL, which is governed by NFHS, or the Federation, and which is school volleyball. And next episode will be on some information as it relates to the difference between or commonalities in thereof of USAV rule set versus NFHS rule set, and some things that from a referee's point of view that we have to go through and think about and transition to when we move from club ball to school ball. So like I said, I went through every single rule in the rule book and I broke them down into certain categories that I feel would best facilitate me conveying the way that these rules, or the rules that are misinterpreted or misconceived or misunderstood. And I also had a couple submissions of some rules that were misunderstood. And as my lovely, beautiful wife had pointed out to me, I started asking her for some advice on some of this. And as you all know, that she's got a degree in HR. She's an HR wizard. I've said some things before, and she's like, "Man, that's not right," and well, U.S. tax law, this and labor code that, and she doesn't know much about tax law, but if she would have said something, I would have never have known anyways, because I don't know anything about tax law. But like I said, I broke these down into certain categories that I feel would facilitate to convey some of these misunderstood rules. Some of these were submitted by people, and like I said about my wife, she had pointed out to me, well, that's more of a procedure than a rule. A rule governs or sets forth a law or a boundary in which you must stay within, and a procedure tells you how to follow that rule. And when she said that, it all became clear to me. So a lot of the stuff got cut out of this particular episode, which I'm going to move it into another episode, which I am going to cover some procedures in the sport. And volleyball is and I've said it before, volleyball is one of the only sports where the rules actually govern how people act and what people can and can't do. And now what you're saying, you're saying, Ref Mike, football says you can't horse collar people. Well, yeah, that's a rule. I get it. But that's on the field. Volleyball rules govern what you can and can't do on the court as well as off the court. Like as in substitutions, how, not that you can substitute, but exactly how you must substitute. Football, people just run in and off the court or off the field. Soccer is more or less the same way. I don't know anything about soccer, so if you want to correct me in the comments, it's fine. Basketball, you check in at a table and then you can substitute in and out. And man, I mean, because those sports are just weird. When the rules set forth everything you can and can't do, it makes for, believe it or not, a really well-run, admirable, exciting sport. One of the easiest jobs I ever had in my entire life was being a private in the Army, because all I had to do is what I was told. That's it. Follow the rules and life goes pretty smooth. Follow the rules and the match goes really smooth. So these are common misconceptions, okay? The first category I'm going to go over is equipment and court. The equipment and court. Rule 4 is the rule that governs the team. So I'll delineate the rule itself and then go over a couple of nuances inside that main rule. Just in case you haven't ever opened a rule book, I got mine right here. So if you see the USA Blue rule book, it breaks things down into a numbered categories. So wait, that's too far. Let's see. So, and you can see, like, if you can look at my rules, it's got highlightings in it. See, the yellow disappeared because it's got a bunch of highlights in it, because you always have to be a student of the game, right? So let's just look right here. Perfect. So we're in rule 4. So rule 4 is the team rule. Rule 4 is the team rule. See, team composition, and then it goes 4-1, 4-1-2, 4-1-1, 4-1-3, 4, and it goes over nuances within that rule. So rule 4 is the team rule. Rule 4.5, personal items, the sub-rule, personal items that are prohibited. So I get asked this question all the time. The new rule this year and the new rule going into NFHS, which we'll go over in the NFHS episode, is, believe it or not, jewelry can be worn. I get asked this question quite often. This is probably one of the most often questions I get asked pre-match. Jewelry can be worn as long as it doesn't pose a safety hazard. It can't be excessively big, or necklaces can't be excessively long. You can't have large medallions. Some referees take this rule and interpret it by saying, hey, pull your necklace up. If it reaches your mouth or your teeth, you can't wear it. For me, I say if it reaches your mouth or teeth, that's fine, as long as you're not hanging a clock off your necklace. That's fine. Hoop earrings, as long as they're not gaudy, large, dangling, clanking, and you have too many of them, I usually don't worry about it too much. But yes, jewelry can be worn. Jewelry can be worn. Let's keep it in the ears. There's some changes with the nose studs this year that's coming up, and so on and so forth. But necklaces and earrings are just fine. Rule 9. I'm going to move on. Again, this is still in this section of equipment and court. Rule number 9, playing the ball. The non-playing areas. So under Rule 9 is entitled the playing the ball. Non-playing areas are described as walls, bleachers, spectator seating areas, team benches, and an area behind the team bench, between the scorer's table and the team bench, and any other outlined area. The reason why I bring up this part is I get asked often, it's like, what can I play? Where can I play? And this one's asked by a lot of spectators. Well, you blow the whistle and say, oh, she hit the ball, right? Or she could hit the ball. Well, the player would have gone into a non-playing area, first of all. And I'm being military in nature, mission first. The mission is always first. What is the mission? The mission is to play volleyball. Mission first, safety always. So I always consider safety, the safety of the players on the court, the safety of the players on the bench, the safety of the coach standing, the safety of the officiating team at the scorer's table, line judges, spectators. I'm always thinking of safety of the players on the court first, and then the players and staff on the next to the benches. And if I see a ball that I know is not, first of all, it's not going to be playable. Second of all, if that player does make it to the ball and makes contact with the ball, they will not be in contact with the playing area. I will blow my whistle. And I've gotten yelled at or heckled before about, well, the player could have made contact with the ball that played. Well, when the spectator yells at it, they say, oh, she could have got that. Well, yes, sir, I understand that. And the rule is the player must make contact with the ball while in contact with the playing area. So it's important to know what is and is not a playing area. And there are also, and I also kind of want to say before I get too far, that rules are not all inclusive. Almost no rule in the rule book is all inclusive, meaning that rule stands alone. A lot of rules you will see in the rules book will say refer to rule XYZ. And that is, it happens a lot. So with, like, for instance, this particular rule, when I say player must make contact with the ball in the non-playing area, or make contact with the ball while in the playing area. So rule 9 is about playing the ball, but a different rule governs contact while in the playing area. So we're going to move along. Another rule that comes across is this is a new rule this year from USAV. Rule 5.1. Rule 5 deals with team leaders, and Rule 5.1 is dealing specifically with the captain. And under that rule, there is a section at the very bottom of Rule 5.1 that says judgment decisions are not subject to protest. If a player or if a playing captain decides that she or he wants to protest a judgment call, it may be received with a sanction. Now, the sanction level here is pretty low by and large. Speaking personally, I'm not high up on the sanction scale when somebody wants to question a judgment call. And hey, look at that! I'm gonna shout out to my kid, Parker Davis. She's joined the live stream. Hey, Parker, how you doing? Maybe you can learn a little bit about volleyball. She's a little bit young, and so she's gonna get a little bit older. She might start playing volleyball. I hope, maybe. Excuse me. So judgment decisions are not subject to protest. So I've heard a lot of things about this particular addition to the rules book. I've heard coaches and spectators alike say Well, that just gives more power to the referee to say, no, it's my judgment, and squashing or quashing anything at that point, and saying, and being kind of a dictator or a totalitarian. I think it's completely opposite of that. If something is a judgment call, then the reason why it is one of those things you can't argue is because, by and large, or chiefly, USAV does not allow for video review. Neither does NFHS. NCAA has CRS, which is the challenge review system, which is instant replay, or play review. But if it is a judgment call, there's no way to review or argue or counteract or reverse a judgment call, because by its very definition, it is the subjective view of the referee who has made that decision. But the key underlying factor here is that the referee has made that decision through the lens of the rules book and in the spirit of the game itself to get the girls to play volleyball. I say all the time in my pre-match conference with the captains, I say, look, when I blow my whistle, you need to ask yourself a question. Did he want to blow his whistle, or did he have to blow his whistle? There's a difference between wanting to and having to. But the judgment decisions are not protestable. And again, I believe that's in the spirit of play in the game. Rule 5.2 deals with the coach. The coach can no longer has to be 6 feet away from the sideline when he or she is coaching. The reason why I put this one in here is one of those, it's not a misconception. It's often misunderstood, or it's not understood at all because it's a newer rule. The coach no longer has to stand 6 feet away. So oftentimes when I'm down reffing, I give the coach a little signal to, hey, back up. And the coach wants to back all the way up to the bench. And I'm saying, coach, not you, you're good. I just need your players to back up. And as long as they don't obstruct the view of the officials, but they still can't enter the substitution zone. That's still the office of the down ref. But that's a real easy, quick one. There is another section on officials, but I decided to remove this one entirely, and I'm going to do another episode again, purely strictly on the officials and our duties and our mentality and things that we go through. So stay tuned further in the season for that to come up. The next rule I want to go over is positions and rotation rules. Positions and rotations rules. Now, again, these aren't rules that are straight delineated down through the rule book. I'm not going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I group these in particular categories to kind of get you in the mindset of what I'm talking about. Rule 7 is structure of play. Rule 7.4 governs positions. And the key here is, here's what the rule says. Positions 7.4, back row players must be further back than the corresponding front player. The positions governed by placement of the feet in contact with the playing surface. Okay, the fault occurs at the moment of service contact. So I kind of read a couple of things there that were kind of paraphrasing some of the rules, but let me go back and explain that a little bit, because I know some people have a little bit of a misunderstanding of positions. So when on the court, you have 6 positions. 1 is your server, 2 is in front of 1, then 3 is middle front, 4 is left front, 5 is left back, and 6 is middle back. Simply put, what this rule is saying is all the back row players, when the moment of contact for serve is made, all of the back row players must be farther back than their corresponding front player. So another way to word that is number 1 has to be further back than number 2. Number 6 has to be further back than number 3. And number 5 has to be further back than number 4. So that is how front and back is observed as far as position fault. The second one is laterally. Each player on the court has to be closer to their respective position than their corresponding adjacent player. So the corner positions, for instance, player 1 has to be farther to the sideline or closer to the sideline than the center player. the center player has to be closer to the middle than both of their corresponding outer players. Okay. And so on and so forth. So it's a little bit easier to explain it wording that way. I attempted to prepare graphics, but I'm still not really good at this whole web streaming thing, and I promise I'm going to get better. I was really excited when I made those bumpers and videos and stingers. I was excited to know what a stinger was. I thought it was pretty cool. But the position fault occurs when the server makes contact with the ball and the player on the court is not in their corresponding position. The position is governed by the placement of their foot. So as long as there is a foot closer to the line or the center, that's all that matters. Now the problem lies in what happens when the server goes up to serve and it's a long serve or a high toss serve, and players want to get over to their position faster. They start moving. At the moment of contact, the player has gone too far too fast, and they are now overlapping their corresponding adjacent player. That's usually when we blow the whistle. Benefit of the doubt always goes to the player. If I'm not counting boards by any means, to me it has to express a clear and present danger, so to speak, of being overlapped. So, and this, I don't want to confuse the position versus the rotation fault. So there's a difference between a position and a rotation fault. A rotation fault is the team commits a positional fault if any player is not in his or her correct position at the moment the ball is hit by the server. A rotational fault, on the other hand, is a fault that is committed when the service is not made according to the rotational order. So in other words, you have a wrong server. A wrong server will create a rotational fault, including the libero too. They have to serve in the correct position. So that is really the main nuances I had in position and rotation faults, or position and rotation rules. I do have in the can, or on the board, so to speak, some episodes that have to deal specifically with rotations and how rotations work and rotational faults and things like that. So I'm not going to leave anybody in the dark, because believe it or not, as a referee, that's one of the things that we struggle with cultural and industry wide. Recognizing rotations, recognizing where a player should be when they're supposed to be there prior to the serve. Now we all know that after the serve contact is made, they can excuse me, they can go anywhere they want. The next excuse me. The next series of rules that I want to cover is going to cover ball actions and in, out, and touch calls. This one is, there's a couple in here that I've had a couple questions on, and I lumped up the ball actions with the in, out, and touch rules because all of these have to do with the ball itself. And I've said this to a couple of people because I read it somewhere, so it must be true, right? But as I go through the rules book, I notice I do understand and realize that the element is, the overlying element is always there. And so it stands to reason that the majority of, well, I haven't find it to be wrong in any major aspect. And the saying is, when it comes to offense, being on the offense, it matters where the ball is. When you're on defense, then it matters where the player is. So all of these have to do mainly with offensive action, based on where the ball is, which governs in, out, and touch calls. So in the rules book, it's covered under Rule 8 under states of play. 8.4 is ball out. So a ball is out when it contacts an object or a person outside the court. Served ball contacts the ceiling or other overhead object below 4.6 meters, which is 15 feet above the playing area, and would have remained playable. So bleachers, branches, low-hanging baskets of fruit or basketball baskets, or other obstructions that are less than 2 meters or 6 feet 6 inches and some junk like that from the court that interfere with play, the ball becomes out of play and a replay may be directed at the first referee's discretion. So what does that mean? So when the ball contacts an object or a person or the ceiling, sorry, let me rephrase that. When a ball contacts an object or a person that is not playing, right, that is outside the court, not a player, or a served ball contacts the ceiling. So remember, a served ball cannot contact the ceiling. It has to go over the plane of the net between the antennas to stay live. Or during play, it contacts the ceiling when an overhead object is below 4.6 meters or 15 feet. When it's below 4.6 meters or 15 feet, it'll remain playable. And if the player can't get to the ball because it hit one of those obstructions, then under 6 feet 6 inches, then a referee can call a replay because of that. So if the ball makes contacts, I want to talk about some things that would make the ball out, right? Because all that stuff was about the ball being in. So if the ball makes contact with the opponent's ceiling, ball is out. If the ball contacts the ceiling or an obstruction above the team's playing area, so I hit the ball on my second contact, it hits the ceiling, and then it goes over the net to the opposing team where they make legal contact, the ball is out, right? So essentially, if the ball hits the ceiling after I hit it and then it crosses the plane of the net, the ball is going to be out. And that's one of those things that I put in here because this is one of those things where we get guffaws from the audience, the spectators all the time. It hits the ceiling, comes down, and it goes over the plane of the net. And I'm like, well, but it went over. But it can't be interfered with as it's going over the net. And if it contacts the ceiling or any obstruction on the team's third hit. So there is some common sense involved in interpreting these rules, right? The previous rule I just stated, it can't contact the ceiling and then cross the plane of the net into the opposing team's area, or else it's out. Well, on the third team contact, if it contacts any object or the ceiling, it's out of play because the team doesn't have another contact. So if on the third contact it's hit really hard, hits the ceiling, whistle blows, play's dead. So, and that's it. If a playable ball comes to rest on an overhead object above the team's area, then now this is a replay. This is a situation in which you'd find a replay. Now, I am guilty of this. I'm going to throw myself under the bus here. I'm guilty of this. I remember specifically when I was putting together this episode, I remember specifically a tournament I want to say about 3 months ago, where I blew my whistle as the ball went up onto an air duct and kind of rolled a little bit and then came down. My previous interpretation of the rule was that the ball it gave that team an undue advantage of being able to get underneath the ball and play it back over to their opponent. That was my incorrect interpretation of the rule. As I have since re-educated myself, the correct interpretation of the rule is that would have been a replay. So the ball had come to rest on an air duct that was well above 15 feet, I'm sure, which means that the ball is still playable if it contacts that object and comes down. But since it came to rest, the rules book states that if it comes to rest on an overhead object above the team's playing area, then it's a replay because they did have a third legal contact on the ball. Now, I can't go back and say, hey, guys, I messed that one up. It's more of an issue of educating myself and knowing the next time when I come into contact or come into the same situation that I would make the correct call the next time. If an official or media equipment or personnel or media personnel or spectator interferes with a player's legal attempt to play the ball over a playing area. See, these is where these words are coming back. The playing area, non-playing area. Legal attempt to play the ball over a playing area, a replay shall be directed. Now I want to stop right here for a second. We're going to take a short break, and I didn't put this in the dialogue before, but it begs to be mentioned now. There are certain words that we come across in our life that are not welcome in a marriage. Let's just put it that way, right? They're not welcome in the marriage, and these are words of what do you call it? Words, concrete words, or forever words, words that delineate something to the effect of it being definitive and encased in graphite or stone or concrete. And one of those words, like, well, you always, right? You always do this, or you never do that. And you can say, well, did I do it? Did I do it one time? Did I not do it last week? Well, yeah. Well, then you can't say never, right? So words that don't belong in a marriage, always, never, right? These are along those words. Shall, right? Shall and may. These are fancy ways of saying always and will do. So if an official media equipment or other personnel or spectator interferes with a player's legal attempt to play the ball over a playable area, a replay shall be directed. What does that mean? It means you have to do a replay. You have to. That's what shall means. Shall means you will replay. I love this rule. I love it. I get fussed at so much for this rule. A player is going to play a ball. It is obviously in the playing area. We know these tournaments get tight with spectators and tight with playing room. They have a lot of space on the sides of the court to play the ball. And if the ball's coming down in a playable area and that player hustles to that ball and then looks up and sees some honking 6'2", 350-pound guy carrying nachos, popcorn, 3 drinks, and a baby, and then just stops because she doesn't want to run into him, and he's in the playable area, that's interference. Period. That is cut and dry. That is interference. That is a replay. Period. I have gotten fussed at by parents and coaches and groans from players. What do you mean that's a replay? She missed the ball. She stopped. Yeah, but it hit that 6'2", 350-pound guy in the head. She could have got that ball if he wasn't there. I don't say that, but I just kind of give a little hands up. It's a replay. It's a replay. That's my call. It's a replay. You want to challenge something, you send your captain up, and I will explain using the language of the rules book, which is, if an official media equipment or other personnel or spectator interferes with the player's legal attempt to play the ball over the playing area, a replay shall be directed. And that's what I'll tell you. If the ball crosses completely under the lower space of the net, completely under, that means if you are diving for the ball and the ball breaks the plane underneath the net and you hit it while it's in the plane and you can pop it up, you're going to make that ESPN highlight reel for sure, but the ball stays in play. That happened. And I also saw a video on the internet not too long ago of a player where the ball was hit and shanked over the net outside the antenna, which in USAV and NFHS means the ball is out. If it crosses the plane of the net outside the antenna, it's out, right? International rules are a little different. So it's called the pursuit rule. You can pursue the ball as long as you have a legal contact on the ball. So the ball went over the plane of the net outside the antenna. It came down real close. The player kicked it with his foot, or her, I think it was a female's, and it went up and back over the net outside the antenna. And then the third hit went over the net. Play continued. It was amazing. Play continued, and that was the right call. But if it doesn't cross the plane completely under the plane of the net, you can still hit it, and it's still playable. And then this one that definitely came up in my last tournament. I think it was my last tournament. Rule 10, ball at the net. So Rule 10 covers the ball, governs the ball at the net. 10-3, ball in the net. If damage to the net results, it's the rally is canceled and replayed. The rally is canceled and replayed. The rally shall be canceled and replayed. In my situation, the ball went into the net. The net was already damaged. It went through. It went into the into a damaged thread of the net and actually went through the net. I stopped play and ordered a replay. That was the correct call. I was approached afterwards about it from a spectator who didn't understand the rule. And the way he approached me was very, very kind, very, very nice. He approached me from a position of ignorance. He did not know the rule. He actually asked me, is that a rule to have a replay? Because if the net was intact, they would have lost the point because the player couldn't get to the ball or didn't get to the ball or wasn't there to play the ball. And I said, well, you're right. You are right insofar as there was no player there that could have made a play on the ball. However, the ball did in essence damage the net, and which results in a replay. So this is one of those interpretations of the rule. The damage to the net was already there, but because of the damage, I'm not a fortune teller. I can't see the future. There were no players in the area to make a play on the ball, but I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. I mean, these girls and guys can do some pretty crazy stuff. I was just at the old summer league for the school getting ready to start up, and man, I saw some teams like pancakes and diving, sacrificing the body. It was amazing. I'm like, these girls are already ready to go, man. And so that about covers it for our ball actions and in and out and touches. Yeah. So, but remember, we are going to have a whole episode on ball handling. I promise you it's coming, because ball handling is almost, I'm going to get shot for this. It's all going to be all in the comments and be like, oh, that's not right. It's like, ball handling faults are called almost universally across the 3 United States codes. International ball is a little different. We're not going to touch too much on international ball. Those guys are weird. We like to keep things on the up and up, right? So we're going to go over some very, very minor ball handling and player actions. Ball handling and player actions. So that's this next graphic, this one here, not the one I just put up, because I'm still working on trying to convince my wife to be my engineer, but that would make the show later, and we'd have to put the kids to bed, and then she could devote full attention to being an engineer. So, ball handling and player actions. Rule 9 governs playing the ball. So the ball may be retrieved. So here we go. And I telling you, I thought about whether or not I should split these two up, because they kind of go hand in hand. Ball handling, the ball may be retrieved from beyond the team's own free zone and over the scoring table and its complete extensions. So over the table, in the free zone, but each player must play within its own playing area and play space. So basically what that means is the player can get the ball from anywhere in their play space, as long as they maintain contact with the playing surface when they make contact with the ball. The ball may be retrieved from beyond the free zone when the surface changes 1.25 centimeters or a half inch or less. So this really comes into play when it's portable court surfaces, and that's a vast majority of USAB tournaments. If they're not played in dedicated volleyball areas or basketball arenas or basketball courts, you get like the large tournaments where you're running 60, 70, 80 courts. That's portable playing surfaces. The portable surface is put together by squares. Those squares are placed on the floor, and then they go out X amount of feet, 6 feet, 8 feet, 10 feet. And then obviously the floor has to end. The sport court has to end at some point. And when the sport court ends, it kind of has a little drop off. And those squares aren't very thick. So they I've never measured them, but I'm pretty sure they probably fall within that half inch of surface change. But when that change is a half inch or less, the secondary surface is lower than the free zone, then they end free of obstructions. They can still play the ball. If the obstruction or the other safety concerns prohibit retrieval from beyond the free zone and the player retrieving the ball over the non-playing area. They have to be in contact with the playing surface when the ball is made. So now we get to the point where I'm saying you're probably asking yourself, well, what's okay? You've said a lot of stuff at this point, and I'm trying to take notes, but I can't really keep up because you've defined what the playing surface is. You kind of told me that, but you didn't tell me what the non-playing surface is. What's a non-playing surface like? And normally I would say, well, common sense dictates if I told you what the playing surface is, everything else would be a non-playing surface. But believe it or not, there are some rules in the USAV rule set and even in Federation. And well, Lord Almighty, we all know that international rules can be confusing sometimes. That might be a little conflicting. Centerline violation? Anyone? Centerline rules? Anyone? No? You? No? Yeah, I know. Yeah, we'll go over that one too. But non-playing areas are defined as walls. We're right from the rule book here. Walls, bleachers, or the spectator seating area, team benches, and any area behind the team benches, areas between the scorer's table and the team benches, and other areas outlined in the pre-match conference by the first referee. The player may contact over non-playing areas, but they must be in contact with the playing area when contact with the ball is made. So basically what that means, let's just take a non-playing area. The non-playing area is the area behind the team bench. If your team bench is only 2 inches wide, we're going to use best case scenario and if everything was a perfect world. If your team bench was 2 inches wide, that means the team bench is a non-playing area and the area behind the team bench is a non-playing area. Ball goes towards the team bench. There's no coach in the way, no players in the way, no bags in the way, no cups to get knocked over, no nachos to step in. The player hustles over to the team bench, sticks her foot on top of the team bench, reaches over behind the team benches, makes contact with the ball, sends it gloriously over the net on the third team contact, and it touches the court on the other side for the final point of the gold match in the tournament. Legal or not legal? It's okay, I'll wait. That's a good thing for a stinger. Legal, not legal? We can do that. Legal, not, that's a good one. Play is legal. The play is legal because the player had 1 foot, which would be... See, when I did that in my head, I stuck my left foot on the bench because my right foot's my dominant foot, so I stuck my left foot up first. So the player had contact with the playing surface with 1 foot, which is legal. Contact with the ball was over a non-playing area, but their foot was in contact with the playable area or playing surface, which makes the contact legal. So they won the game. This one, rule 9.1 under team hits. I love this rule. Another rule that I love, especially in the younger players. The younger players, man, sometimes they clamor all over that court because when you get older and you get more experienced and you get more time under your belt, everybody understands and espouses their job on the court a little bit more, a little bit better, and they kind of know where to go or where to go when teams are where balls are in the air. So in other words, using different words. When a ball is received and the ball goes up in the air and it goes to a certain section of their play area, the teams know where to go onto the court to receive the ball for a pass, right? But when you don't have as much accurate passing or hitting or digging or receiving, you have players that kind of clamor all over the court to dig balls and what have you, man. And that makes for an exciting game. There's a lot of referees out there that love refereeing the younger crowd because, man, they just have a lot of heart. And then just, when you get a little older, it's more technical and faster and harder hitting, and it's exciting in its own right. But when it's younger, it's like inexperience is replaced with like tenacity and go-gettingness, and I've seen girls just like literally sacrifice themselves for the ball, and it's amazing to see the athleticism in some of the 13, 14, and 15, and then carry that on to 16, 17 varsity ball, college ball. It's amazing to see, but I digress. So This rule 9.1 deals with simultaneous touches. So the touch rule is the word simultaneous is the big key word here when it comes to contact with the ball. A double contact is not simultaneous, right? So simultaneous touches by multiple team members count as one team contact. Say it again. 9-1 team hits. Simultaneous touches by multiple team members counts as one team contact. If the ball is coming down and it hits my arm and your arm at the same time, that is one contact, not two. One contact, not two. And either player can make the next contact on the ball. Either player can. So here's a referee point of view situation. And I know I've explained a lot of the rules and then not really kind of put in too much referee 2 cents, but here's one right here for you. Any player can make the next contact. The referee's judgment is who made the contact and whether or not it's a double contact. If in the referee's judgment, that the two players did not make simultaneous contact. So another way to say that is if two players make contact with the ball, let's just say my two little fingers here are two players, right? They come in and the ball goes boop, boop, right? Off this player, then this player. That is my judgment is that it was not simultaneous. And then this player decides to hit the ball again. Remember, it went boop and then boop, hit then this player, right? Boop, boop, and then went up. And if this player makes contact with the ball again, that is a separate action playing the ball, which means it would be a double contact. However, what have I said before? I've said before and I'll say it again. I love being a turtle. That's not it. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Look, if I blow my whistle, ask yourself, did I have to or did I want to or did I have to? I don't want to stop play. So I always give the benefit of the doubt to the player. If it is like, if I can't distinctly distinguish between the contacts when those two players are diving for that ball, I will let play continue. And this can be 2 or 3 players. 2 or 3 players. The rule book even addresses 2 or 3 players may touch the ball at the same moment. When 2 or more teammates touch the ball simultaneously, it is counted as one hit, and any player may play the ball next if simultaneous hit is not the third team hit. A collision of players does not constitute a fault. So when 2 players, if anything, it constitutes a 3-minute stoppage in play to figure out if that person's hurt or not. Moving on. When two opponents touch, like here's the net, right? So, it's like my little. This is called. Yeah, I didn't even know what this was called until I got it right. This is called a pop shield, right? This is so you don't whenever you go. Right. This stops you from. See, it's really cool. And it was only like $12 too. Amazon's great, right? So let's just pretend this is the net, right? This is the net. Let's make it straight. Let's just get like not all nets are straight, right? Let's go. Okay, so let's just say that this is the net, right? And this player, they come up over the net like this, and and then come in. And this is, I told you this is kid friendly, right, man? This is kid friendly. My kids come in and out. It's cool. I don't keep them out. They want to show their face on here. Huh? Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead. Wife wants the vacuum. Okay, go ahead, vacuum, man. Just do your thing. All right, so thanks for asking. All right, so they come over the net like this, and they come, bam, and they got a little joust going on, right? They got a joust. Ow. When 2 players touch the ball simultaneously over the net, and the ball will remain in play. I need to get a little tiny ball. Watch this. Oh. Gumball. What should our ball be? Okay, purple. That's my favorite color. Look at that. So when two players simultaneous contact over the net. So that's like not to scale either, right? So like the plane of the net. So the plane of the net. Let's just say that's the whole plane of the net. So it is the whole plane of the net. All right. So two opposing players make simultaneous contact over the net. The ball will remain in play. Will. See, the ball remains in play. Definitive, right there. And then if the ball goes this way, this team is entitled to 3 more hits, 3 more contacts. free, because each one, not explicitly said in the rule book, mind you, but each one, when the ball comes off that player, it's considered a block, right? That's essentially, that's why. It's not explicitly said so, but that's the way I rationalize it. That's the way I explain it. Because if you call it a block, what happens after a block? You're allowed 3 more hits, right? So that's the easiest way to explain it. If the ball comes off of this player here, well, for those of you who, I don't have one of the dragon camera, but the ball went this way, right? So if the ball goes this way and then goes out, the fault is on the team of the opposite side of the net. So that means if the ball goes this way and out, then this team is the fault team, right? That happens more in higher level play than it does in lower level play, based on my experience and what I've seen. But it does happen, and it's usually super exciting, because when it comes off, it's called a joust. So when it comes off a joust like that, usually that gives teams enough time to get in place to be able to effectively dig up that ball and get it back in play, which is really cool. Really cool to watch. 9.2 characteristics of the hit. The ball may touch any part of the body. This is a rule change from many, many moons ago. It can touch any part of the body as long as it's not caught and or thrown. And it has to rebound It can rebound in any direction. So the rules state specifically, I'm going to throw the quotes up here, the air quotes. It can rebound in any direction. It can. It doesn't say it must or it has to. It says it can, which means one thing in particular, when you interpret the English language, it can rebound in any direction. That means it can, but it doesn't have to. So if it comes straight at my face and goes straight away from my face, then that's not rebounding in any other direction but towards you, right? Physics dictates that it can't rebound in the same direction it's traveling. So, but I'm just going to leave that where it is, because that's a whole nother story. That means it went through my face. So there are exceptions. So the ball may touch various parts of the body, provided that the contact takes place simultaneously. So here are those exceptions, the things that run through our head every time we're playing, or every time we're officiating a match, those things that run through our head. Blocking. Consecutive contacts may be made by one or more players, provided that I didn't even specify that. So blocking does not count, right? Blocking is not you can have consecutive contacts in a block, because that rationale behind that is the block is one entity. So if it contacts this hand, then the hand of another blocker, it's one block. They're all making one block. And in that instance, it's called a collective block, a successful collective block. Consecutive contacts may be made by one or more players, provided that the contacts occur in one action and it's the first team hit. So the other way of saying that, or the first team contact, the other way of saying that, and I specifically waited for this one until the end, or this particular set, the ball handling and player actions, because this is the one that these are the ones that everybody wants to know about. What that rule says, and that's the verbatim rule, provided contacts occur during one action, right? That's the language of the rule book. So I'll read that again. Consecutive contacts may be made by one or more players, provided that the contact occur during one action, and it is the first team hit. So what does that mean? Serve, receive. You can make contact if your ball's coming at you and you mishit the ball and it hits your hand in your face. If that was your second contact, then that would be a double contact. But if it was your first team contact, that would be play continues. Same thing, receiving the ball over the net after the serve. If it's a mishit ball or a misset ball and it's a double contact, play continues because it's your first team contact. So a lot of people will scoff at some of these rules, but from the referee point of view, there is one purpose alone for this first contact, double contact rule contact. To keep play going. To keep playing volleyball. Got it? Right. Moving on. The ball may contact various parts of the body consecutively, provided the contacts occur during one action. This is one of those rules that is set forth in the rule book. It may seem black and white, but this also can fall into a judgment area. Okay? So it is the referee's judgment on whether or not that action is one action in playing the ball. For example, if the player comes and it comes up to block the ball, this is kind of an offbeat example, right? So you got, because it throws in a couple of elements. So the player's coming up for a block. Player makes a successful block. The ball travels down their body. They reach under themselves and they hit it from below them. And then they take a step back, and on the way up, it hits their head. It kind of, but they're really close to the net, right? Is that one action of playing the ball? Or because of the step back, is it two actions of playing the ball? Because they were setting up for a third contact. So you be the judge. But yeah, has to be in one action of playing the ball. And then there is a rule. It's not a rule, but there's a statement in the USAV rulebook. It says on page 22, it says you cannot catch and throw on the first contact or service. I wanted to make sure that I put this one in there for one reason alone. And that is because I had a coach file a protest because I called a ball handling fault on a serve receive in which a player caught and threw the ball. It was a set. It was an overhead finger pass. And in my judgment, there was no way around it. I mean, I saw the ball physically stop in her hands. And that is the very definition of a caught ball. Rule 11, player at the net. This is a doozy right here. And this is probably the longest one. And we're going to shut it down right after this one, because this one, net play is always difficult to judge. And I'm going to kind of just breeze right through it because I know we're hitting like 56 minutes and I want to shut this thing down, trying to keep them to under an hour. Player at the net, 11.1. And these are going to be right from the rule book, and then I'll explain a little bit of them. 11.1, reaching beyond the net during a block. Reaching beyond the net. Rule 11.1, reaching beyond the net. During a block, a player can touch the ball beyond the net, blocking as long as the player does not interfere with the opponent's play before or after the attack hit. During a block, a player can touch the ball beyond the net. Blocking. That's a block. Can touch the ball beyond the net as long as the player does not interfere with the opponent's play before or after the hit. So if the player on offense has a play on the ball and they're attempting to play the ball and it is completely on their side of the ball or the net, the opponent may not touch the ball. If they do, then it's reaching over. A player can reach past the net on the follow through. This is on offense. On follow through, as long as contact with the ball was made on the attacking player's side of the net. So you can go. Oh, let's put the whole net here again. So you can hit the ball, make contact with the ball here, as long as it's on your side of the net, and you can follow through over the net. That is okay. Rule 11.2. Penetration under the net is permitted. It is permitted to penetrate into the opponent's playing space under the net, provided that it does not interfere with the opponent's play. Penetration into the opponent's court beyond the center line. To touch the opponent's court with a foot is permitted, provided that some part of the penetrating foot remains either in contact with or directly above. So my side, legal. This is the end of my foot here, right? Not legal, right? Remains either in contact with or directly above the center line. To touch the opponent's court with any part of the body is permitted, provided some part of the body remains either in contact with or directly above the line, and there is no interference with the opponents. Here's where it gets a little confusing. In addition, means also, right? Also. In addition, completely crossing the center line with a foot, feet, or hands, or encroachment with other parts of the body, elbow, shoulder, wrist, leg, Jim's leg, table leg, must not present a safety hazard to the opponent. So here's where I got a little confused, right? If you completely cross with a foot, it's illegal. But if you completely cross with a foot and it doesn't encroach, and it doesn't present a safety hazard, then it's permitted. Yeah. So It is permitted to penetrate into the opponent's space under the net, provided that it does not interfere with the opponent's play. So if it interferes with the opponent's play at any point, then it is illegal. Centerline violation. Rule 11.3, contact with the net. Contact with the net by any player between the antenna during the action of playing the ball. Oh, I'm going to leave my net right here. During the action of playing the ball is a fault. I'm coming up to hit the ball and I make contact with the net. Illegal. I am watching somebody play the ball and I back up a little bit, run into the net. Not illegal. Play continues. And the action, what is the action of playing the ball? You say, well, that's a great question, Ref Mike. Wait. What is action of playing the ball, Ref Mike? Well, that's a great question you ask. This includes, among other things, which is also delineated in the rules book, takeoff, hit, or attempt to hit, and landing safely, ready for a new action. You have to be ready for a new action or complete the action in the judgment of the referee, and that is part of the action of playing the ball. So if you're running up and you jump and you go like this and you swing your arm forward and it's a fakie and you come down and you hit the net, legal or not legal? Oh, wait. Illegal. Why? Oh, why? Why? Because the ball wasn't anywhere near him. He was in the action of playing the ball. That was an action of playing the ball. So that is illegal. Players may touch. We're going to move into touching now. Players may touch the post, ropes, or any other object outside the antenna itself, and up to and including the antenna itself. Hey, monkey! My monkey just came in. Into and including the antenna itself, as long as it does not interfere with play. There's a whole bunch of other rules in here that state that you can't. No, these are mine. I have to use them. Yeah. A whole bunch of other rules in here that also govern saying helping. You can't use nets to assist, or anything else to assist. Moving along. When the ball is driven into the net, causing it to touch an opponent, no fault is committed. That's kind of self-explanatory, but I did want to go into that one. So if you hit the ball into the net and the net contacts me, that is not. Don't do that. The net contacts me, then it is not a net fault on my part. It is you hitting the ball into the net and then me scoring a point is what it is. When the ball is I already went through that one. 11.4, player's fault at the net. All right. So if a player touches the ball or the opponent in the opponent's space before or during the opponent's attack hit. So a player cannot touch a ball in the opponent's space. That is a fault. This is before, during, or after the attack hit. If a player interferes with the opponent's play while penetrating into the opponent's space, that is a fault. A player's foot penetrates completely into the opponent's court, that is a fault. Hey, monkey. She came around the other side. Yeah. Oh, give those to mommy. Mommy. Yeah. A player. Just fast forward this part like 10 seconds. Go give it to mommy. Go give it to mom. Yeah. This part right. Just fast forward like just 2 clicks. Let's give it like 2 clicks right now. And close the door. Okay. I'm just gonna close the door. I will close the door. Oh. Okay. Yeah, close the door. 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 All right. Yeah. All right. So a player interferes with the opponent's play while penetrating into the opponent's space under the net. It's illegal. Can't do that. Let's see here. So any player close to the ball. Readjust myself here. What is a player interfering, you say? Well, here it is. A player interferes with play by, amongst other things, any player close to the ball as it is played and who is him or herself trying to play it is considered the action of playing the ball. So that whiffy, fakey shot has to be in proximity of the ball. If it's completely on the other side of the net, that's not in the action of playing the ball. It happens when 2 players want to jump real close together and one goes, shoo-hoo, and then this one hits it. All right. So any player close to the ball and as it's being played, as it is being played. That is directly from the rule book. Close to the ball as it is being played, and who him or herself is trying to play it is considered the action of playing the ball, even if no contact is made. However, touching the net outside the intent is not to be considered a fault, except if there's rule 913, which is the assisted hit. So if a player uses the net to assist themselves in hitting the ball, then that is illegal. Service. Rule 12 governs service. Service rule 12.2, the service order. When the receiving team wins the rally. Oh wait, I already did that one. Looks like we're done, right? Yeah, I did. See, it was a little tough getting prepared for this one. I tried to get through all the rules that I could. We're at an hour and 4 minutes, and we had to fast forward some too, which is awesome. But hey, I really appreciate you guys joining me for this one. Again, I want to give a shout out to Sports Reels TX for letting me use some of his footage. You can see him at Sports Reels TX on YouTube. And for some photos, and we got some photos from Gus Cortez at smugmug.com, and some other photos from Beth and Derek. Appreciate your contributions to my bumpers. And for all those of you out there, I want you to keep playing volleyball. Thank you for joining me on the live stream. Thanks for tuning in. Share this with your friends. Anybody that wants to know a little bit about a little bit more about volleyball from a referee's point of view, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you on the next one. Hey, look, my other kid joined here, and look, she played volleyball for a while, and stopped playing volleyball to play soccer, which she was excellent at both of them. But you know what? Hey, I have to give a huge shout out to Tatum today, because look, I'm going to do this real quick. So I'm going to do this. Yeah, you're going to stick with me. So you can shut the video off anytime now. This is all praise at this point. But yeah, I want to do this, but stay with me here for a second. I'm going to create this banner. So today is Sunday, and on Friday, I had my daughter. She graduated high school, so I want to say congratulations, Tatum, on graduating your high school. She graduated from College Station High School in College Station, Texas. Gig'em Aggies right there across, in Reed Arena right there across from Kyle Field, the home of the 12th man. Or I don't know, it's 2024, so it might be the 12th person. Are they going to change it to the 12th person? Somebody inbox me and tell me if they're going to change it to the 12th person. Yeah, but congratulations, Tatum. I'm so proud of you. I love you very much. You've been a super awesome. I always, when I talk about you, I always say, man, I never have to worry about that girl. She's amazing. She has a great head on her shoulders. She's doing so well, and she's going to college. She's going to go to Blinn, and then she's going to transfer over to college to Texas A&M University, and she wants to study art, criminology, marketing, psychology, murder, muck duck. I don't know. She's only 18, so she can change her mind as much as she wants. But I love you, baby. I'm so proud of you. Anyways, that's it, you guys. Thanks for joining me today on From the Stand. Next time on From the Stand, I don't know what we're going to be talking about. Oh, that's right, NFHS. We're moving into the school season. Check out that one. And we'll see you. Stay on the court and keep it real, Scranton.